something to say.
Well, the other night, I wasn't on the show yesterday. I hope you missed me.
We did. But Kathy Griffin was very funny and adorable.
Kathy was great. I watched the show later, but she was terrific. But anyway, so I watched the Republican debate, the so-called debate the other night. Did anyone see it?
I watched the whole thing.
You did. I actually watched it last night because of this conversation.
Well, for the purposes of people who didn't see it, basically there was a very strong interaction between Rudy Giuliani and Ron Paul, who is from Texas.
Congressman from
and he's a very conservative congressman from Texas, this guy Ron Paul. There he is.
Yeah.
And there he is. I never heard of him before.
Yeah.
And yet I thought he was just right on the money.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Now, we have a clip, right?
Well, we don't have... Wait, the clip is too long to show.
So just
but
keep
basically, he was saying that we need to rethink what we're doing in the Middle East as policy, rather than just being angry and reacting the way that we do.
But he didn't say it that way.
Well, if you saw him on CNN later, he elaborated.
Right, but during the debate, what he had said was the reason he essentially, in so many words, said that the reason why maybe 9/11 happened was that we had been attacking them for 10 years.
That's not what he said.
We had been. That's what I'm saying.
That's
people interpreted what he's saying.
That's how Rudy Giuliani interpreted
well,
it.
He did say we have been there for 10 years. Didn't he say that?
Yes.
He had been over there for 10 years.
But he also says, you know, that we are building bases, 14 permanent bases in Iraq now. He says, what would we say if China was doing this in our country or in the Gulf of Mexico? Would we be objecting? We need to look at what we do from the perspective of what would happen if somebody else did it to us. That's all he's saying. All he's saying is, instead of just being a knee-jerk like Rudy Giuliani, and you know, Rudy Giuliani is not the only one who can respond to 9/11. Excuse me.
No, but he's the one who did.
But he happened to be there. So were we. We were all there also.
Yes.
The point is that there are other people in the country, including Ron Paul, who have another way of looking at Middle Eastern policy.
That's
and
like
we should be listening to those people too.
Well, we are listening to them. We're hearing them loud and clear. However,
Let Elisabeth speak.
A couple of things struck me as interesting.
I'm the moderator.
Number one, he seemed to. Do you agree with him?
Call Elisabeth.
He seemed to link 9/11 to Iraq, which you never hear. Number one, do you agree with him on that? Ron Paul. He linked the two. He linked the region. Okay, so that was something that you really don't hear ever from especially someone of your beliefs. And then also, you know, he's all about non-interference in the world. So what are we supposed to do? Apologize and never interfere again when safety's at risk?
Just rethink.
Sorry, Mussolini. Sorry, Stalin.
Don't go back to that.
Noriega.
He's talking about. Look, he's talking about Democrats also. He's not just talking about Republicans.
This is not about.
He's talking about how we supported the Shah of Iran, how we have bases in Saudi Arabia, which they consider to be a holy land. That is an infraction in many ways. And so we have to take the blame and the responsibility for what we do also, and not just attack willy-nilly.
Let me tell you something. Wait a minute. He is saying, okay, because of our policy, because of our American policy of having people stationed all over the world and sticking our noses supposedly in other people's business, that is why these attacks have happened? These are Islamic fundamentalist extremists who have this in their hearts from the time they could hear a word.
That way.
They want Americans and Jews killed, and if they have to die with us, they will die with us, because that is better than us living here.
It's not because of our lifestyles that they hate us. It's because of our policy. It's because we have to think about how we got to where we are.
What about the policy of the Jewish population is so awful that
don't bring that in now. That's an extra.
They equate the two. They equate the two. They want both Jews and Americans to die.
Who's
That's
they?
simple.
Who's they?
Terrorists.
Again, it's the word terrorist.
I
think we should.
I have a point to make on
that. Be quiet, because can I just say one thing? We're all talking over each other, and Barbara doesn't like it, and she's at home watching, and she's going to call in. Right. Now, Chandra, what do you have to say about it?
Bottom line is, you have to sit back and think about how you got to a place. Because we are reacting, because that's what we have to do. But in that reaction, we also have to say, wait a minute, obviously something needs to change so that we're not having to be on this defense or on this offense. So we have to take other cultures, other things into consideration. I'm not saying take terrorism into consideration, but there's a logic. Somebody has a logic.
There's no logic to terrorism in my mind.
You wouldn't have all of these children children here with this brainwashing, doing the things that they do, growing up the way they grow up, and making the decision to die for something if it didn't mean something to them. You have to figure out what that is.
I don't think there's any logic behind that, though. I'm just not a person who believes that there should be any logic. Of course not. I don't believe in blowing up our own children in a car. I don't think there's any logic in that.
Because you think that they're innately evil people?
No.
Okay, so they just grow up and decide for no reason to kill themselves?
Islamic terrorists, extremists who blow their own children up
I don't want you to use the word terrorist.
Why? I will use it time and time again because those are the people that flew planes into our buildings and killed our people.
And
those are the people who were in Fort Nix, New Jersey, who were plotting to kill our soldiers in cold blood. Those are terrorists. What do you want to call them? Sleepies?
It's too blanket a term because there's no telling where it comes from.
What is this murderer? A nice guy is a murderer? Should we come up with another conversation for these people?
The point of the conversation is that there is a policy that we're talking about here. Not just we hit you, you hit us. Also, the other thing about terrorists, you use the word terrorist. We were attacked
when they run into our buildings and kill our people.
Yes, we agree with you. Nobody's saying
Why can't I use the word then?
Can I ask you a question?
But wait a minute.
No, Joy, I haven't said anything.
You haven't.
I just want to say something. 655,000 Iraqi civilians are dead. Who are the terrorists?
Who are the terrorists?
655 Iraqis. I'm saying you have to look from the... we invaded...
Wait, who are you calling terrorists?
I'm saying that if you were in Iraq and another country, the United States, the richest in the world, invaded your country and killed 655,000 of your citizens, what would you call us?
Are we killing their citizens, or are their people also killing their citizens?
Invading a sovereign nation and occupying a country against the UN.
That's what we're doing. We've had 3,400 of our men. Wait a minute, 3,400 of our American boys have been killed and girls also.
Absolutely they have. It's the most devastating thing to hear.
All we're saying is rethink policy so that we can stop this. That's all I am saying today.
We should absolutely be thinking about policy.
That's all.
What is his plan? I want to know, what is his plan then to keep us safe? What is his plan? Because I hear a lot of this.
He believes in non-interventionist. We'll have to talk to him to see what his plan is.
Non-intervention. See how good that does us.
Giuliani to grandstand. And I'll tell you something else. After that Republican debate, Fox News did a poll, and Ron Paul got a higher percentage than Rudy Giuliani. So the conservatives out there who are watching are listening to this man.
You know why?
So let's not take for granted that there is one side or another.
The vast majority of Americans no longer are falling for the trick of the bad terrorists who are out there to get us.
I'm not a fool, and I'm not an American who's falling for a trick that people are terrorists. I don't believe everyone in a foreign nation is a terrorist. But I'm saying, no, I'm saying there are people who believe that if you use that word, you're a fool, you're brainwashed, you're not informed, okay? I believe that there are certain people that are terrorists, okay?
And where should we get them back, though? Where should we get them? In a country? In other words, it seems like to me that it's a police action. There are terrorists all over the place.
Yes,
why attack countries? But why attack one particular country when they're here, they're here, they're here, they're here? What's the point? I don't get the group.
I'm saying who decides when and where.
That's what I'm talking about. Policy change. Don't just. What's the point of attacking a country? I don't get it.
And I agree with you. It is difficult to have policy against terrorism, global terrorism, because it is everywhere and it's unseen and it's invisible until it attacks.
And then it gives the leaders the authority to do whatever they want, whenever they want, because of this invisible, hard-to-find force field of terror.
Do you not believe in terrorism?
I believe, Elizabeth, that 6,000 dead Americans from 9/11 and from this war is a lot less than 655,000 dead Iraqis.
Do you believe in terrorism?
I believe every human life is equal.
Do you believe in terrorism?
I believe there is state-sponsored terrorism. Yes. I believe there's government-sponsored terrorism by every nation in the world, including ours.
We host our own terrorists here. Maybe we do.
I don't think we host them, but Elizabeth.
But do you think we should be held accountable? Do you think the United States should be held accountable at all for supporting totalitarian regimes in the Middle East that we have been doing? The Shah of Iran, Saudi Arabia, all these countries.
For arming them. You're not saying those things are ever been overlooked.
That's policy. That's my point. I'm not going to say that word again.
All right. Yeah. And
but there are terrorists. Okay,
Joy's major point, though, is that in the middle of all the planning for the attacking, make sure that there's planning for...
She said policy should always be reevaluated. That was my point. You made it. Thank you.
Always should. But there are terrorists.
And I still love her for taking the boogers out of my nose.
And And just remember, I only have 5 more weeks. We'll be right back with more Hot Topic.